And this is Christy Delgado. She was in the film. Wearing a vintage Curve magazine t-shirt.
Questions. Who had? Oh, okay. I'm coming to you. I'm walking.
Thank you. This question is for you, Franco. Hi.
Hi.
What is the biggest surprise to you, knowing what you know now from 1991? If you can go back and put yourself in your shoes back then, as for our community today.
Well, I would say the biggest surprise is that anyone cared to watch this film, or that, you know, it made such an impact on the community this many years after the fact. It just is mind-boggling. When Jen said she wanted to make the film, I was like, well, who's gonna wanna watch that? Like, nobody cares. And it's just shocking, and it really feels like I spent my life doing something worthwhile.
Yeah.
We were surprised also, Rivka and I, at how many people still use the word lesbian. Because when we started making the film, we thought, oh, you know, like maybe it's fallen out of favor, or, you know, there was a lot going on with TERFs at the time. I can't stand. And going out, you know, taking the film around the country to small towns, all across the country, finding particularly young women using the word lesbian to identify themselves. We were surprised and delighted, and yeah, it's funny. It's funny living in the Bay Area, and they're super distracting.
He's trying to make a bed.
He's making a bed. And Manny said, like, he designed this place so that everybody here feels like they're at home. Do you feel like you're at home?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really gratifying and eye-opening for us, I think, to see that word still being used. And to have the opportunity to have these kinds of conversations too, where we were talking with women our age and older, and young women as young as in their teens, about the words that we use. It feels like an evolving conversation.
I mean, I'll just piggyback on that, because we knew that we would have an audience of people who remembered Curve, and there was a lot of nostalgia and a lot of appreciation and recognition for Franco and what she did. But I think Jen and I were also surprised to discover an audience of younger women who didn't know the history of Curve, who were really interested in having conversations and cross-generational conversations about this lineage and the legacy. So, and I'm surprised that you were so surprised. We told you the whole time.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Next. Oh, okay.
Christy. Another Christy. Another lesbian Christy. First of all, I didn't know that you went and won a bunch of money at the racetrack. I think that was awesome. That was really fun to see. We were talking yesterday about like not knowing the number of people that you've touched. And I think just taking a moment to think about how many lives you don't even know that you've touched, and just like be with that for a second, because that's what I got out of watching that. Just like what an amazing accomplishment. And what's next?
Oh my God, that's so sweet. Thank you. So what's next is the Curve Foundation. Jen and I were able to buy back the magazine and donate it to a new nonprofit called the Curve Foundation, which supports lesbian culture. And we have 2 Curve Awards, one that we just announced today for established journalists that are reporting on lesbian topics. In an age where we try to be so inclusive, it's good to recognize those who have been doing the work for 10, 20, 30 years in our industry. We also have an award for emerging journalists for young queer women, binary non-binary people, yeah, non-binary, those old, yeah, and trans identifying people, and you know, we're giving away cash awards, which feels really good. We also just launched the new Curve archive, so you can actually go online for free and look through any issue of Curve magazine from the last 30 some odd years. And we've started a Curve quarterly, so quarterly we'll be doing new content, mostly related to what the foundation is doing. So it's pretty exciting and a new chapter for me for sure.
And you should talk about the Curve community a little bit.
Oh yeah, we have an online Facebook community called the Curve Community, and we just use it to create community all over the world. And you know, there are some people that aren't as lucky to live here as we are. There's also people who live here that still feel like they don't have community. We also use it to bounce ideas off people. We have a book club. We have conversations that we do that are free, but only accessible if you're a member of the free community. It lets us poll our readers to know what they want to see, and you know, how they identify what's important to them, what's important to us as a movement and as a community, and whether it be, you know, we're all very different, so I cannot speak, and nor could I ever speak for, you know, somebody who doesn't roll in my shoes, so to speak.
You also asked people to post pictures of their pets like every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Which is like one of my favorite parts of the Curve community. And you get to see like the cats and dogs from all over.
Yeah, it's amazing, like how you ask dykes to post their dogs. Where women are just like, oh yeah, I wasn't answering you before, but here's 15 pictures of it.
So adorable.
I know, it's pretty cute, yeah.
And in terms of other things that you've done lately, you did something that's about to pop off tomorrow night, right?
Yeah, I would like to invite you all down to City Hall tomorrow night for the first time ever. City Hall will be illuminated in the colors of the lesbian flag for Lesbian Visibility Week tomorrow.
Because Franco asked.
Because I asked, like, I just asked, and then, you know,
Sunset.
at sunset. So come down,
We'll be there between 8 and 8:30,
I think it'll, yeah, or,
because I think that, well, what time is it now? Like, the sun doesn't go down
It's
until,
7:54 right now.
yeah,
right, so maybe a few minutes before 8.
yeah.
We'll come
and
with
they-
our, you know, bottles of alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages, so, you know, come and have a toast with us.
BYO.
Hopefully next year, it'll be for the entire week. But it's nice to know one person can say something and actually, you know, it happened, and it didn't happen because of Curve, it happened because somebody asked. You know, I just said, hey, what a great idea, can you do this? And lo and behold, yes was the answer. If you don't ask, you're not gonna get a yes, so.
Ooh, okay, we got one in the back.
Hi, thank you so much. I feel like this community and this message is so loving and amazing that I'm really wondering, how do you have any plans to reach out to the younger generation, because via social media or like different platforms, because it's so powerful, it's so meaningful, and so many young people nowadays are so lost. Like, do you guys have any plans to reach out via different platforms?
We do. Right now we have Facebook for us older people, and we have Insta. We do a lot on Insta, and I think we're starting TikTok. And you know, I think it's really important to say that, you know, the Curve Foundation is inclusive. It's inclusive of younger people and older people, you know, and however you identify, we accept you. Like, this should be your home base. Just like this is a welcoming space, we want the Curve Foundation to be a welcoming space. And we're doing that in all of our awards. We look at the community as a whole and say, how can we best serve the different aspects of our community? Like when you asked about, you know, supporting younger people, That's why I thought having this Emerging Journalist Award was so important, because this is the next generation of our community, and we need to support that. And, you know, a financial award of any amount when you're working in career media is so important. I mean, there's just not enough money to go around. And it's so undervalued when it should be the number one thing we put our money into is telling our stories, because the more we tell our stories, the more people know us, the more we know each other, the more we have, you know, understanding of the people that share our struggles with us, you know. I hate this idea that, like, because one group gets something, it's taking away from another group. We have adversaries these days. There's laws being enacted every single day to try and stomp us out and treat us like subhumans and strip away what little rights we have. And if we don't come together as a community, as a whole, we're gonna wake up and this landslide is just gonna have turned into like...
The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, the Handmaid's.
Hey, on a brighter note, so to continue and piggyback on what you were saying about how we're trying to wrap our arms around all generations, the Curve Foundation's executive director, Jasmine Sudarkasa, is, she told us she's the same age as the magazine. So she's like, what is she now, 31 or something like that, and she's hiring folks who are even younger, considerably younger, to make sure that younger generations are included in the work. We host a panel series, what's it called? Beyond the Rainbow?
Beyond the Rainbow.
Yeah, that's intentionally designed to be cross-generational, so go out of our way to invite young folks all on up to, like, you know, the very fully grown folks.
I want to get an idea here. How many people here have been in San Francisco for 10 years? Wow. 20 years? 30 years? Wow. Oh, okay, I gotta ask.
Gotta
What do you-
go
40?
higher. 40,
Wow.
45?
Yeah. Wow. Well, Christy and I were hanging out here in Castro, in the Valencia Street corridor, you know, back in the days of Ocento, and, you know, watching this neighborhood grow and having Amelia's,
Yeah.
Francie's, oh yeah.
the Lex.
Oh. Lexington.
And, you know, I know we have some camaraderie from being around during that time and watching this neighborhood grow, and I just want to give a huge thanks to Manny's for making this space like a home base. It's really great, and I know that it takes a lot to keep a space like this going, so anytime you can support them, like, kudos.
Hey, Christy Delgado.
Yes.
What did you think when you saw this film? I know you generously participated in it and shared your stories, but when you saw this film, like, what did that do to you?
It was so amazing to see ourselves on screen, and that you know, lesbians in 1990 San Francisco, we were doing something. We were living our lives, and you know that political change is how you live your life, you know, and that's what we were doing.
I love that story that you told about.
Which one?
Lots of stories you told. You told a story about like how sexually free that time was, and about some woman driving up, and you were standing.
I was at a bus stop, yeah, and a woman stopped in a convertible. I'm like, hey, you want to ride? Cool. I'm not naming names. But, you know, I just heard from Manny earlier tonight that there is actually a resurgence in this neighborhood of lesbian-owned businesses. It's just happening again. I didn't quite get the name of all of them, but it's not just Mother. There's other ones, something called Milk, and
the coffee house.
somebody bought lesbians bought the Kilowatt, and that's happening. That, according to Manny, so, you know, these things cycle.
Well, when I moved here, there were 15 lesbian bars.
Wow. What year was that?
73.
Wow.
Is that why you moved here?
Oh,
That's why I would move it.
The politics was a
Yeah.
big part of why I moved here.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Thanks so much. This was amazing. I'm Hannah. One of the things that I was struck by in the film was the sense of, I guess, the clarity and quickness with which you came to this idea of, yep, we need visibility, it's gonna be a magazine, it's gonna have the name lesbian on it, we're doing it. Did it actually feel that way in the moment, or was there more like contemplation and exploration, which we see later in the film as you're exploring what future generations are gonna need?
Well, the idea for the magazine, I always thought somebody else should do it. I was like, somebody should do this, we really need this, and then I was like, oh, if you just complain, nothing will happen. I guess I should just do it. What do I know about publishing? Not a damn thing. But I was, 21 or 22 years old, and your brain doesn't think the same way. Your brain is like, okay, I want to do this, so I'm going to go do it. Jen and I have kids now that are that old, and I see when they make a decision, they're just like, they don't fully contemplate, like, there are all the ramifications of that, and that's what's so beautiful
They're
about
also
the
boys.
That's what's so beautiful about younger people is you don't think like, well, I have this that I can't do it for. I can't do it because I have to put, food on the table for kids, or this, that, or the other thing. I just didn't. The first issue of the magazine didn't even have a year on it because I couldn't even imagine like, oh, we're going to be around next May. Like it just, it didn't even occur to me that I did it because I wanted it and nobody else was doing it. And I also did it because I was inspired by the other employees at a different line bookstore. They were all doing something incredible, like doing zines or having a band or been ACT UP or, just these groundbreaking things. And I remember I came home one day and I was like, I don't deserve to work there. Like, I'm not worthy of these people who are like making queer culture. And then I was like, oh, maybe I can, use their support to do my own thing, and everyone won't think I'm crazy there, because in my day job, they thought I was absolutely Looney Tunes.
I have a question, which is only formulating now as I speak, but it just occurred to me, there we go. Back in the day, everybody was in the real world and communicating with each other and in each other's presence, and then there was a lot of like firing off each other, and there was, when we say scene, there was a bunch of people in places and so forth, and you guys have talked about that, which is great in this neighborhood. But that's not really, and please contradict me if I'm wrong, that's not really how the world is anymore. It's much more online, it's much more sort of like in the ether. And I'm wondering, is that something that you guys have given any thought to in terms of, I'm sure you have, in terms of how to sort of create that level of excitement with less of the in-person aspect?
That's a great question. I think it's something, we are still trying to figure out. In a way, we need younger people to say, this is how I want my media. And the best thing is that, back when I started the magazine, it's like you had to have all this money to create a platform to, get your message out. And that's why there wasn't a lot of lesbian magazines, or, but now anyone can get their message out, which has its good and its bads, right? But it does give a voice to people who would not have that ability back, 30 years ago. But print media obviously has taken a big hit with, the digital platforms. It's like, I don't really know, maybe the New York Times is the only one who's figured out how to, be successful. No? You're saying no? I don't know either, but, yeah, I mean, I think it's such a time changes, in the digital world so quickly. And, if anybody figures it out, let me know.
Just to get out there and be everywhere. Just like you guys were in those photos, it looked like so much fun.
Oh my God, it was fun. And there's some crazy stories. And you didn't have the internet, so if you did something crazy, you had a you know, you had a negative and you had a print, and that was it. There was no, like, this is going viral. No, you could do crazy stuff and it wouldn't be back to haunt you.
What happened on Valencia stayed on Valencia.
I mean, some of what you know, you see Kim Catron and you see Denise Froman and Andrea Pino Silva, and they all, of course, have Instagram and different social media presences. You can find them and you can follow them and you can see the ways in which they're leading. Amber Hikes, when we talked with her and interviewed her, she was in the Philadelphia mayor's office, and now she is one of the vice presidents at ACLU, and was here at Lesbians Who Tech. Like these, you know, they have, these leaders have incredible influence in our culture and are leading in many ways, and you know, we can hear what they say, and there's a lot of conversation across a lot of social media platforms that I think, you know, the way in which Curve magazines would start conversations or contribute to conversations and seed conversations. Now we see a lot of the fruits of that kind of being batted around, a lot of real world conversations, like, you know, if you go to a conference like Lesbians Who Tech, you know, you'll have conversations, or like Klexicon, or, you know, some of these places, but also in the comments of social media, right, of these leaders who are conversating today.
We have a question over here, and then we'll do one more question.
Hi. So first of all, I have to say thank you for inspiring. I'm a leader at, not by choice necessarily, but my company's ERG. And I want to know how I can share this awesome documentary that you guys put together with the rest of the company.
You mean like right before Pride?
I love that question, go ahead.
Well, so the film is available widely right now. I mean, it's on Stars, it's on Amazon and Apple and Hulu, and we've been screening for a lot of corporations and a lot of universities. There are easy ways to license the film to screen for employee resource groups. We've done a lot, like we screened at Disney Animation Studios, at Chevron, at, what else? A bunch of places.
Yeah.
SAP. Manpower, ironically. That's where we need to be screening.
I mean, that's actually what helps us actually pay for this production, because corporations, so this was independently produced, and it's hard to, it's grant funded and individual donor funded, and so after a film like this comes out, then we take it around to corporations, nonprofits. We do a lot of community screenings because that's our hearts and that's what we want to do. That's where we want to be showing it and having conversations like this, and then we want corporations to be helping us pay for that. So speaker fees are some of the ways that we help continue making projects that, you know, feature the communities that we want to feature.
Yeah, just to be clear also, this film has not made all of its money back. Almost, it's getting closer. We did have airline distribution, that was so cool. Oh my God, that was cool.
Yeah, that was, I never got to see it on the plane, but what airlines was it on?
Alaska?
Delta, United.
That's how I first saw it.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Wow.
Sweet.
That's a long flight.
We were, all right, and then, so this has to stay in this room, which means if anybody's recording, you should not